What's going on, people? Hope you're well. Welcome back. If you did not check out the show earlier, make sure that you do. Myself and Pete were on talking all things Premier League transfers. It's been a bit of a mad day in terms of Harry Kane and Bayern Munich, Kylian Mbappe interest from Chelsea and Liverpool, and of course Osimhen with £120 million bid, which is just absolutely insane. There's some tug of war. Is it tug of war between Gvardiol with Man City and Liverpool? I'm not so sure. If I'm honest, I'm not so sure that Liverpool have got that sort of money, but I could be wrong. So go check that one out and make sure you go and follow Pete and his content over at Loaded Mag. Listen, we're here tonight to talk all things Arsenal because Arsenal have been probably the busiest club in the transfer window so far, particularly in terms of incomings and certainly with some outgoings that are rumoured to be in the horizon. And I want to talk tonight about a few of those indeed. Now, there's no really anywhere else to start other than the rumours, of course, of David Raya coming into Arsenal. Now, I am actually quite excited about this, guys. I actually am. I think this would be a fantastic signing. And I'll tell you as to why. It's one that I did not expect. It's one that's really refreshing for me in terms of a goalkeeper that now has competition. And I do think that it's something that I had concerns over in the last season that I've looked at Matt Turner. Now, I want to talk about Matt Turner quick before I go into the goalkeeping situation. Matt Turner is an okay goalkeeper. I don't look at him and think, wow, what a shambles. I certainly don't look at him and think he's world class. I certainly look at him and see him as a number 2 for Arsenal. But I want my number 2 at Arsenal to be pushing Aaron Ramsdale. And I'm really not sure that Matt Turner was that guy. Now, if their clubs are rumoured to be true in terms of interest from Nottingham Forest, I think that kind of tells you the level that Matt Turner perhaps is at. Do we want number 1 at Forest being our number 2 at Arsenal? Not for me. And Dave will kill me if he hears me saying this because I love what Forest have done under Steve Cooper and I love Dave. But I'm not so sure that Matt Turner is the quality of Arsenal. I'm sure he'll go on if he goes to Nottingham Forest and do a great job. But for me, I'm not so sure. I looked at him in the games in the Europa Leagues, some of the cup games, and thought, not sure. Looked at his World Cup, was fairly impressed. Looked at him back in an Arsenal shirt, have some problems again. And it's not so much that he's not a good shot stopper, because I think he actually is. I think it's more about the communication, the command of the area, the understanding of how his defenders engage with him. And I think perhaps he didn't have enough time to shine in an Arsenal shirt because Ramsdale has been so good and consistent then, and also clearly a number 1. But I've always said, if I could have my way, I think we need a better goalkeeper than Matt Turner. And it looks like now Mikel Arteta, for the first time, has agreed with me. Wow. Something's changed. And I'm really happy with what the boss is doing at the moment. And I really feel like him and Edu have highlighted some seriously good talent, particularly in Timber and Rice and now in David Raya. This is an exciting window so far. I can't lie. Kai Havertz, I've been impressed the last couple of games he's played. I'm not going to sit there and start getting too carried away, but I have been impressed by what I've seen from him in certain games. But there is a lot more to do. And I feel that this £40 million mark is a really interesting thing. And I'll tell you why. I don't think this £40 million is going to affect what we do in the rest of the transfer market. I think it would be incredibly foolish and silly for Edu and Arteta to say we've got £40 million that we could use as backup to Saka or up top as backup to Jesus, or even in midfield, and we're going to go and spend it on a goalkeeper, and then we're done. I'm amazed because Saeed was on my I was on Saeed's show, should I say, earlier today, and he was saying I think it will be done for me after that. That will be it. I'm really not sure that it will be, and I think it will be very, very silly of Arteta and Edu to say this is our business done after signing a goalkeeper. For me, I still feel there is a centre midfielder and a forward coming into the football club after David Raya. So let's talk about him, shall we? I think this is a fantastic signing if it happens, and it looks like it's going to. Thomas Frank has come out and said he's going. We believe he's got a year left on his deal. He doesn't want to sign. He wants to leave, and he wants to go to Arsenal. Clearly wants to stay in London, likes what Arteta and Arsenal are doing. And the deal with Bayern Munich collapsed. Now, that's interesting for me. I think the reason it's collapsed is because he's not going to be guaranteed first-team football. I think at Arsenal, he might not be either. And this is what's really, really interesting for me. He is not coming to Arsenal for that much money to just sit on the bench. What he is coming to do is competition for Aaron Ramsdale. Now, it might be that he has to play League Cup games and FA Cup games. It might be that he gets an opportunity in a couple of the Champions League games. But I tell you what he will do. He'll be pushing Aaron Ramsdale all the way. Because if Ramsdale gets lobbed against Sporting Lisbon or passes the ball out against Southampton or lets one go through his hands or gets beaten at his near post, at the moment, he's not really getting challenged by Matt Turner. But if that starts happening again, then David Raya is all over that. Now, I happen to believe that Aaron Ramsdale has had a sensational first 2 seasons at Arsenal. I really like the goalkeeper. I don't think he's bad at all. I think he gets a really hard time. I don't think there's any part of me that believes that there's any neutral fans out there that love Aaron Ramsdale. They all seem to be quite have a little bit of a hate for him, which is a bit strange for me. Now, perhaps it's the cockiness and the arrogance sometimes, but I say a lot of that is confidence, and it's actually working in his favour quite a lot of the time. I don't see many howlers from Aaron Ramsdale. I've mentioned a couple there, but what we have been complimented alongside that is with world-class saves. I can think of 5 or 6, maybe even 7 over the last course of 2 years where he's made world-class saves. For me, that is unknown at Arsenal with the last few years. You have to go back to Jens Lehmann and David Seaman for me. Petr Cech had one good year at Arsenal. Other than that, not so sure. Wojciech Szczesny looked like he was going to be a number one with a lot of talent and a lot of potential. Never really happened. I think his attitude let him down at times. I'd never thought Almunia or Fabianski were quite good enough for me. And we had some shockers in Viviano and Manone and even Mark Poom years ago, who came at like the age of 39. I never got it really. David Ospina was always a bit too short for me, but not a shocking goalkeeper. And then, of course, we had Martinez and Leno. And I think Arteta has got quite a lot wrong with the goalkeeping situation, maybe people would say, in terms of keeping Leno instead of Martinez and then letting Leno go and having a backup that's weaker in Turner. Now it looks like he's addressing that. And for me, it's refreshing to see. I never expected this signing whatsoever. I would have said you were crazy. If you would have said to me, transfer window is going to open, Dan, you're going to sign David Raya and Havertz for a combined 100 million, I would have said you're smoking. I would have said you are absolutely crazy, but it looks like it's going to happen, people. And to be fair, the David Raya signing, I've got to say I'm for it. Aaron Ramsdale does not deserve to be bombed out the side. And I don't think Mikel Arteta will do that. I don't think Mikel Arteta has a number one at the moment. I think he's going to allow David Raya and Ramsdale to prove to him who's number one. There's 4 competitions. You have to play 2 goalkeepers in each competition, in my opinion. Sorry, 1 goalkeeper in 2 competitions. I've got that the wrong way around. So for me, David Raya takes 2 competitions, which I believe will be the Cups. Aaron Ramsdale takes the Premier League and the Champions League. It might be that he completely changes it up. It might be that Ramsdale takes the Premier League and the Carabao Cup, and Raya takes the Champions League and the FA Cup. Who knows? I think it's clear to see that at the moment, Mikel Arteta does not want the bench to be weak, and he's trying to do what he can to strengthen that. And at the moment, it's looking like he's covering a few positions. I truly believe that along with David Raya, we'll get another 2 signings, and I think those will probably be in the form of a forward and maybe another midfielder, or he might look at a versatile midfielder. For example, Kudus, who has been linked with Arsenal, can play in the attacking 8, the attacking 10 like Ødegaard, and also can play on the right wing, and I'm sure can probably play, if I'm honest, left or up top, because he has been playing there for Ajax. So I feel personally that is some really good transfer windows so far. Of course, if you rate it, you're going to give it like 6.5 or 7 at the moment. You're not going to go too mental because there's still a lot to do. But it's heading in the right direction for me. I can't sit there and say I'm too disappointed from what I've seen so far. So really excited to see what the window brings. Do me a favor. Please start putting your questions in the chat. If you want to hit a super chat, please do. It'll go straight to the front of the queue. If you don't want to hit a super chat, whack a question in. Make sure you put a capital Q at the start of it so I can see it. I'll star it and then it will be answered throughout the show. So make sure that you do that, people. More importantly, please like this video. Please subscribe to myself. I am literally about 200 away from 11K. If we can try and get that over the course of the next 2 days, 3 days, that would be amazing, people. I really want to hit 11K. They say that once you hit 10K, it flies. And I'm hoping that that is the case. I'd absolutely love to get as close to 11K as we can for tonight. So please make sure you do that. Like, subscribe, notify. Literally 3 buttons. It's absolutely free. This is all free content. So please make sure that you do that. Right. Questions in, people. Let's talk about some more rumours, shall we? We've spoken about David Raya. We've spoken about Ramsdale. And we've looked at what we might be doing in terms of outgoing from Matt Turner. Now let's talk about the front line. Let's talk a little bit about the outgoings first, shall we? There's a lot of links with Bolgun and Eddie. There's a lot of links that Eddie is being looked at or monitored by Crystal Palace. Crystal Palace are in need of a striker. I think that's clear. They've lost Zaha. They look like they've not really got much faith in Mateta or Edouard. And there's rumours that Elise may be going as well. Now, Eddie, to be fair, is a centre forward. I don't really think he's someone who can play on the wing, but he has played there before. And Crystal Palace are interested. I am absolutely astounded that they are happy to pay £40 million for him. Now, I don't think that's right. I really will be so surprised if Crystal Palace fork out £40 million for Eddie Nketiah. And if I'm honest with you, I would consider a £25 million bid. I really would. I don't think Eddie Nketiah is ever going to hit them massive heights. Now, he might go to Crystal Palace and get double figures, and that would be good for Crystal Palace. But I really can't sit there and believe that £40 million is what is right. Now, you look at the transfer market. Maybe we ain't far off. Maybe it is 40 million now, because everybody you speak to wants 100 million for their better players now. Eddie Nketiah is not one of our better players, but he's on 100k a week and he's our backup striker. So is he closer to 50 than we believe? Maybe in this crazy market he is. I feel personally, if anything comes in below the mark of 25 million, then we should reject it. Anything comes over that, I would consider it. I'm sorry, I would. And people might think that's harsh, but I would do it 100%. Let's talk about Balogun. I don't think I'm alone when I say I'd like to see Balogun in an Arsenal shirt. I would like to see him with run of games. I think he'd be a fantastic player for us. But I don't know that that's going to happen. He's not kicked a ball in pre-season, and there's rumours that he's got an ankle knock. But I think he's going to be playing in another shirt. I don't think it's going to be an Arsenal shirt this season. I don't know if it's going to be a loan move again, because apparently he wants a permanent move away and first team football guaranteed. The Premier League clubs that are apparently looking at him: Brighton, Wolves, West Ham, Palace again. Rumours of Chelsea and United actually been linked with him the other day, which was mad for me. But I do not want to strengthen a rival. I don't want him going Chelsea or Manchester United. Apparently my mic is weird. I hope you can hear me. Apologies if you can't. Let me make sure I can try and adjust that. I hope that. Let me know in the chat if it is, and I'll try and change the audio. So for me, it's got to be a foreign club that comes in for me, because I would like to see him stay in England on loan. If Brighton would want to loan him for a year, then fair play. But I just don't feel like that's going to happen. My audio is good. Thank you, Blue Lounge. Appreciate that. So I feel personally there's going to be an opportunity for Balogun to get some bids soon. Now, again, price tag. People are talking about Højlund going for 70 million euros. Balogun must be about 50 to 70 million then. Because for me, I have no idea how Højlund is worth that much after scoring 8 goals or 9 goals in 20 for Atalanta. Balogun's gone to France and scored 22 goals, I think it was. So that must mean that he's in that bracket as well. I'll be very disappointed if I'm seeing players like that leaving for that much money and we sell our players for cheap, because we've never been great at selling players. There's only really been Oxlade-Chamberlain and Iwobi that we've got top money for, if I'm honest with you. The rest of the time, we've just let players go, either giving them away, paying them to go, letting them go on a free, seeing their contracts run down. It's been a shambles. So for me, we need to improve on that. And selling Balogun and Eddie for a combined 70 million odd would just be ridiculous. So that has to be done for me. Then what happens? Well, we're linked with some players. And the players that we're linked with, believe it or not, are not the Vlahovic, who we believe now is going to Chelsea in a swap deal with Lukaku. It is not Osimhen, who we've seen today have a £120 million bid from Saudi Arabia. The two players that are being linked with Arsenal, believe it or not, are Joao Felix and Kvaratskhelia. And I have no idea if I've butchered that name, so apologies if I do. For those that don't know who he is, he's the winger from Napoli. I will be amazed if this happens. I'll be absolutely amazed. I'll be amazed if either of these happen, because I think they're going to be extremely expensive. We've seen Joao Felix in the Premier League. He didn't particularly light the league up for Chelsea. I think he was quite lively and energetic, and he's probably one of their better forwards, if I'm honest with you. I see Chelsea Rogers in the chat, so let me know what your thoughts on that one. He said, "Get real, Dan. You man are not signing Felix or Kvaratskhelia." Listen, I agree with you. I don't think we are, but I only go with who's linked to the club, mate. I'm no ITK, so we'll have to see what happens. I think these two would be fantastic. I really do. I like Joao Felix. Let's start with him. I think this would be too similar to Gabriel Jesus. I really like him. I don't think he's an out-and-out strike goal scorer. I don't think he's going to get you 30 goals a season, a little bit like Jesus. I think his work rate is sensational. I do think there's a number of positions that he can play in terms of dropping a bit deep, and I do believe he can play wide like Jesus. but I just don't see him coming in and doing anything that Jesus can't do. I think it might, what's the word? Like repel against Jesus. I don't think they complement each other, is what I'm trying to get at. So I feel like we need a different profiled striker, somebody who can give us a little bit of a different dimension, somebody who can give us Olivier Giroud type. And I'm not sure who that guy is. It's not going to be Vlahovic now. He looks like he's going to Chelsea. A swap deal with Lukaku, which is just a madness for me, but fair play if that's what they want to do. So who's it going to be? My number one would be Ivan Toney. Of course, my number one would be Osimhen, but that's not going to happen. My number one would be Toney in terms of being a realistic centre forward. Other than that, I can't lie to you guys. I am actually struggling. I really do not know who this guy could be. So is it going to be a right winger and we play Jesus and Trossard there and we have then cover for Saka? Is that right winger going to be Chiesa if we're looking over at Juventus and saying to Vlahovic, you're going? That must mean there's a bit of a bargain over there at Juventus. Let's go and see if Chiesa wants to come. He can play left, he can play right. I'm sure he can probably play down the middle as well, but I do know that he's definitely a wicked winger. So that would be one that I'd be looking at, 100% sure. But let's look at the rumour. It's not from a great source, I can't lie. It's not. But Kvaratskhelia is an unbelievably talented player. I haven't seen him every single week at Napoli. I've just seen the highlights like everybody else. But what a talent. Would he be suited to the Premier League? Yeah, I think he probably would. A lot of people are saying that he's going to be weak. I did say, has he got the work rate? Is he a bit lightweight? But I think he would kill it, if I'm honest. I think he's a very, very, very good player. And I want to see us going in for players like this. I want to see us linked with this type of players. And I'm really excited that we are. I think it's a really good thing that we are linked with players like this, because for me, it's totally the right thing to be linked with. If we don't get him, we don't get him. It's like having that ambition that I like. I feel we've lacked that at times, Arsenal. It's like, oh, we're not going to go in for him because we're never going to get him. It's like we were linked with Mbappe the other day. It's like, that's never going to happen. But I like the fact we're linked with him. I like the fact that the club have got the ambition to go, let's just go and see if we can get him. I like that. I love that, in fact. And something Lee Judges said to me last night will stick with me for a while. He was lucky enough to go and have a chat with Edu and the guys, and he met everybody out in America. And he said to me, and those of you who know who watched the show last night, he said something which I really loved that Edu said to me was as follows: it is so much easier to sign players this summer than it was 2 years ago. That says it all for me. Players are now looking at Arsenal going, I like what's going on over there. I think I see a bright future. And players always think about the future. They think about the now. But when you're a young player, you think about where you'd like to be, where you'd like to grow, where you'd like to progress. And I think that because Arsenal are not going and buying the likes of Olivier Giroud at his age now, or players of Casemiro's age, we're signing the young, talented players. And I think that players like Kvaratskhelia and players like Joao Felix and players like Kylian Mbappe will even look now and go, what is actually happening over there? Because I know people are saying it's not going to happen, but what are they doing? They must be doing something right for us to be linked with them. And they're looking at the project. Now, that's a really good start. What we need to do this season is win. We need to prove that we can win with a young squad. Because when you start winning trophies, players like that will look at Arsenal and go, they've just won the Premier League. They've just won the Champions League. They've just done a domestic double. They've just done a league and FA Cup double. I'm going to go over there. That sounds like the place to be. So I'll be really interested to see what happens in this market with Arsenal and a forward player. I do think it's going to happen. I just wouldn't really know where our targets are going to be. There's been links with Kudus. There's been links with Kvaratskhelia. There's been links with Felix. There's been links in the past with Pedro Neto. Michael Elise, we were mentioned with Chelsea and City going in for him being interested. That's gone dead now. So we're definitely interested, guys, in a forward. Whether it's going to be a right winger or a centre forward, I don't know. So when I look at it, Sava had a really good point today on Saeed's channel with me. And he said, do you need a centre forward or do you need a right winger? And that's the question I'm going to put in the chat for you. I'm going to ask you to ask me what you believe is more important, Saka cover or Jesus cover. Particularly if Eddie and Balogun are looking like they're going to go, I would say, hey, we probably do need a central forward. And then Jesus goes over to that right-hand side to cover for Saka if need be. We've got Trossard, Martinelli, Smith-Rowe on the left-hand side. And to be fair, they could probably cover the right if they needed to. But up top, we're going to struggle. Now, the only players that I think can go and cover that position, other than Jesus that we currently have, if Eddie and Balogun were to go, is Trossard and Martinelli. They're the two that I think can play through the middle. Trossard in more of a false 9, Martinelli in a number 9 or false 9, and Jesus we know plays everywhere when he's through the middle. But do we need somebody else through the middle? I think we do. A lot of people are saying striker in the chat. Emperor is saying striker. P. White and is saying striker. Here to there is saying a big physical number 9. Jesus Trossard can play right. Striker. Bossard. A lot of people saying that Balogun staying. Listen, if he stays, for me, he's got an unbelievable good opportunity at getting some game time. But it looks to me like he wants to go. But I could be wrong. Outgoings. That's going to be key to this. Outgoings is going to be key. In fact, the David Raya one shocked me even more so because outgoings I thought was going to come first. And Kudus and Raya are looking like they're getting closer to Arsenal moves, which is crazy for me. Kudus has gone a little bit quiet at Arsenal. Chelsea interested, and I think now probably favourites. But that one's going to be interesting, so make sure you watch that. Get your questions in, people, because we're almost ready to get through some of them. I've started some already. So, outgoings. Matt Turner looks like he's going. Probably to Forest. I don't know how much, but it'll be for a fee. Runnison, we just need to try and clear him out. We really do. Cedric, got to go. Holding, got to go. Tavares, got to go. That's 5. Add to that Lokonga, who's got to go. Patino, who I'm a little bit disappointed to see go, but I think with a release clause that could, or a buyback clause, sorry, that could be fair. The other one is, of course, Pepe. We've still got the futures of Eddie and Balogun. So that's 10 players that we're mentioning. 10 players that we can go and get some serious money for in some positions. I think Tierney and Partey and Smith Rowe are all staying. I don't see any links with them moving away now whatsoever. Tierney's the one that I would look at and think there's 4 players there that are getting ahead of you, or 3 players that are getting ahead of you. I don't want him to go. I'm praying with everything he stays. Everyone knows my love for Kieran Tierney. But he'd be the only one if I had to put money on. But that gives us an opportunity to get some funds. We're probably not going to get much more than 10 million for Tavares and Lokonga. We're not going to get more than 5 for players like Holding and Cedric and Runnison and all these players. But actually, when you look at it, we could get some serious money for Eddie and Balogun. We could get good money for Patino. So that's the way I look at it. If we try and get some form of money for Pepe, even if it's 10 million to Saudi Arabia, try and do it. So let's see what happens there. I got asked earlier who would be your number 1 striker that's realistic at the moment. Emperor as agreeing with myself. This is who I would go for. I would 100% go for this guy. If Ivan Toney's not an option due to his ban, if Osimhen's too expensive, if Vlahovic is no longer on the deal because he's going, if Felix is too expensive, then let's see what Ramos is going to cost from Benfica. I'd be so pleased with a striker like this. I think he'd be an unbelievable piece of business. Very good in the World Cup, if you remember. Done very well at Benfica. Another striker at Benfica. Well, we should just nick their scouts, man. They just seem to always have top players. You know, Atletico Madrid always had top players. That's what Benfica have got, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? Benfica have had the Darwin Nunez, before that Joao Felix. Now they've got Ramos. It's crazy to look at their players that they actually had. If you put like a World 11 or a transfer 11, or players that got out from Benfica, you'd be stunned at how much quality they've had over the years. That's what I would do. I honestly would. I'd go and do that. I think that would be a fantastic piece of business. Probably costs, what, 70, 75 million, do you think? I think he'd be superb. A lot of people, Ramos will be 70 million. And then Justin is saying Ramos is savage, absolute baller. Jonathan Iceman David, perfect fit for Arteta's system. I think we can probably do one better than that across the pond, Sports Talk. But listen, I wouldn't be against it. I think he's a good player. But I'd be surprised if we went for him. I think there's better players out there, but not many. You're absolutely right. Let's take some of your questions. This one comes in from Arsenal since 1987, the year that I was born. Can you believe it? Big up yourself. It says, Dan, apparently I'm hearing that Declan Rice will miss the start of the new Premier League season. This will be gutting. I was told by Cecil and Curtis, who spoke to him, that he's got a tight calf and he should be okay for the Community Shield game. So I imagine he'll probably miss the Emirates Cup, but I think he's going to be fit for the Community Shield game. So watch this space. It'll be devastating if he is, because at West Ham he was never injured, and that's what first thing everyone said. He's never injured. Comes to Arsenal, gets injured. Unbelievable. This one comes in from Nando. Big up Nando. Says, Potts, why do we not try to go for Kane? If we're buying Raya, do you think that Kudus would even be considered? Yes, I do think that Kudus would be considered, and Raya looks like it may happen. Harry Kane's not going to come, bro. I'm sorry. Like, I'd love to see the ambition for Arsenal to go for it, but I really feel like that's just not going to happen. I'll be absolutely amazed if that happens for me. Harry Kane's going to go to Bayern Munich. I truly believe it. I do think that there's a way off in terms of the price at the moment, but they wouldn't have held talks and flew out and all that stuff if it wasn't going to be some form of agreement of structure of payment. So I think that's probably going to happen. Kudus, I'd like him. I think he's a talented player. So watch this space on that one. Nando also says, who do you think we missed out on? Diaby. Yes, it's the player I wanted. The player that I wanted. If you remember my AFTV fan cam, I mentioned players that I wanted. He was one of them. I think he'll do very well at Aston Villa. He scored 2 in the last 3 already, and he's gone straight into my fantasy team. I think he'll have a fantastic season. This one comes in from Daniel Parker. It says, Dan, do you think Arteta will experiment in the Emirates Cup game and then go with what his Forest lineup will be in the Community Shield? Who'd be your lineup for Sunday versus City as things stand? I don't think we'll see too much experiment in the Community Shield, but we definitely will see some in the Emirates Cup, and I think he'll give game time to those who he believes deserves it and needs it for fitness. Who would be my starting 11 for Sunday versus City? As things stand, Ramsdale in goal, right back Ben White, right centre back Saliba, left centre back Gabriel, left back Kieran Tierney, because Zinchenko, I believe, is out. I think he's playing in the charity game the day before, so correct me if I'm wrong. But I think Timber will play at left back, but I would go with Kieran Tierney. My centre midfield trio would be Partey, Rice, and Ødegaard, and then I would play Saka on the right, Jesus through the middle, and Trossard on the left, because I think in pre-season he's been better than Martinelli. Not to say that, I mean, Martinelli is one of my favourite players along with Saka, but you can't drop Trossard, man. He's been absolutely outstanding for me, so cannot do that. Let's come in with this one from KD. He says, Raya and Ospina, who you've mentioned is short, are the same height. Do you think that Raya is too short to be a top keeper? Shot stopping wise, he's great with his feet and long balls, though. Yeah, listen, Ospina wasn't the tallest, and you're right, David Raya isn't either. However, I think his distribution is absolutely outstanding. I was talking to a Brentford fan, you know, from this channel, Matt, who was saying, you've got a great goalkeeper there. We've already replaced him. He's definitely going, and I think he's going to yourself. I don't know how much. We want 40, but he reckons it will be around 30 to 35 million that we eventually get him for. And he says he's literally setting up goals for Brentford. Like, his assists record is mad. His kicking is ridiculous. If it's not an assist, then it's basically a break on the attack. And it's like having a kind of outfield player, he's saying. So for me, fantastic signing, and I hope he does well. Let's take a look at your questions from Stapes, who says, although Tony's banned, can he still move in this transfer window for a cut price? I don't believe he can. I think it has to be January now. He's not allowed to train with any football team. He's got to train on his own, and I don't think he could do anything to do with football for the foreseeable. And I think in January he's able to do that again. So I think if we do want him, we're going to have to go in January. I think we can agree a deal, I think, like you say, but I don't know if it'll be the cut price. I've no idea what Brentford want, but I think it's pretty much wait until January. That's what I believe, but I might be wrong. Let's see what this one is here. Tierney was good in limited minutes pre-season. Here to there, absolutely agree. I was really impressed with him. I thought it was a great assist since he's come on. I think he's done well. Sakshama says, big up, Dan. Don't we need another striker more than a goalkeeper? Don't get it twisted, people. Don't believe that just because we bought a goalkeeper, we will not sign a centre forward or not sign a forward or another player outfield. I think we'll get both. If Eddie and Ball are going to go in, we're definitely getting a forward. That's for sure. We would not leave ourselves that short, in my opinion. So for me, we have to get a centre forward. And I believe we need one even with Eddie and Balogun. So we definitely need one if we get rid of both of them. As for the goalkeeping situation, as I said earlier on the stream from the off, I think it's a fantastic piece of business. I really do. And I like it a lot. And I think it's all about competition for places. This one comes in by Kolo Moani. This is an interesting one. A lot of Tottenham fans were saying they want him to replace Harry Kane. And I'm actually quite a big fan. I think he's versatile as well. I think he can play in a couple of positions. So I don't think this would be a bad signing whatsoever. Again, guys, running out of number 9s, aren't we, in this world? We really, really are. Let's look at this one from Daniel Parker. It says, I'm probably overthinking this, Dan, but genuine question. Do you think we should avoid going all out to beat City comfortably on Sunday? Or should we give City a false sense of security and mind games? Listen, I always want to go out to win. I always want to go out to win. And I think that what could happen is potentially it could be a huge confidence knock if we were to go out a bit half-hearted and get absolutely battered again 4-1 like we did at the Etihad. And then everybody will say, what? Nothing's changed at Arsenal. I want to give them a hell of a game. I want to give them a game where they look back and go, they're ready, aren't they? That's what I want. And I know it's a Community Shield. I don't care if we're lifting that or not, if I'm honest with you. It's nothing I hold in high regard. But I honestly believe that it would be such a good statement for Arsenal to win that. And we've done it before, haven't we? At Wembley, we've beaten Manchester City a couple of times. We beat Liverpool in the Community Shield last time we played in it. I remember us beating Man City on penalties in the Community Shield as well. So we've done it before, guys. And we've got a good record at Wembley. So let's keep the faith with that one, 100%. Let's look at this one from Bradley Martin. Big up, Brad. Hope you're well, mate. He says that, don't you think it's crazy that we're spending that much money on a reserve keeper? I do think it's crazy if we've got no more money after it, Brad. I really do. But at the moment, I really feel like this is a great piece of business. I don't actually believe this is a madness signing. And people will maybe be surprised by that. I'm not a huge fan of Matt Turner. I'm not. I think he's all right. I don't think Raya's all right. I think Raya's superb. So if we've got Raya and Ramsdale, we've got two seriously good goalkeepers there, man. Seriously good goalkeepers. You're right. It's crazy money if we're going to go and buy a reserve goalkeeper for £40 million and buy nobody else. Or we can't buy a striker now because we spent 40 million on Raya. Or we can't buy a midfielder and a striker now because we spent 100 million on Havertz and Raya. I think that would be mad. Absolutely madness. But I just don't see that happening. I don't think we would leave ourselves that short and be that stupid. So let's see what happens. This is an interesting one from Paul James. Trusty to Sheffield United for £5 million. Is that a fair price? Yeah, I think it probably is. Didn't set the world alight. I think he played well apparently for Birmingham. I think he got their player of the year actually, but didn't set the world alight, did he? He didn't think, wow, get this guy back in our team. Like, it wasn't like a Saliba moment where you think this guy needs to be playing. He's probably better than Rob Holding, but he's not going to have a chance now of getting in our centre-back situation, is he? He's not better than Ben White, Gabriel, William Saliba, Timber, Kivior. He's not better than those five. He's not better than Tomiyasu. So I think it's time for him to go. £5 million. I don't know if you mean, Paul, that perhaps you thought we'd get more than that, but I think that's about right. And I think Sheffield United have probably got themselves a half-decent centre-back, to be fair, with potential to be a really good centre-back. So let's see what happens there. It'll be interesting. This one comes in from Gonadon. It says, Inter have just pulled out of the Balogun race as they won't pay more than 30 million euros. Listen, they're a club that don't have a lot of money, in my opinion. And I'm shocked that these Italian clubs were coming in, because I think one of them's bid 20 million. I think it might be Inter Milan, actually, bid 20 million for Scamacca today. West Ham will reject that. Like, you know, clubs in Italy at the moment that are saying they're skin. Don't come and bid for Arsenal players and England players then, because you ain't going to get them if you're skin. Like, trust me, it is like ridiculous, absolutely ridiculous. So that's that. This one comes in from Stapes, who says, do you and Lee have any content coming up this week? And if so, when? Well, I can tell you that there will be content every day on my channel and every day on Lee Judges TV. So if you haven't done so already, please make sure you go over to Lee Judges TV and subscribe. We're getting up to 35 subscribers, 35k subscribers, sorry, should I say. So please make sure you're part of that. Please make sure you're part of this as well. Get me up to 11k if you can, please. That is my target now. My target for this year was nowhere near 11k, so I'm amazed to get to 11k in a year. But please make sure that you get me to that 11k, because I only need literally a couple of hundred away from it. So please make sure that you can do that. Let's take a look at Lee Judges TV. From next Monday onwards, every 9 p.m, you will see myself, Lee Judges, Harry Simeo and Graham Brooks together. There will be opportunities for some guests as well. Kevin Campbell, Tom Canton, Sophie Nicolau. You'll probably see some of the AFTV boys as well being on there. Make sure you're over there every Monday night. You'll get a reaction video of the weekend's games and of the Arsenal game, in fact. So that's exactly what you need to be looking at. On here, you'll see the Race for Europe show from next weekend onwards. You'll also see the Premier League fan debate shows of all of the other fans from the Premier League. So everyone going from right the way up from Luton to Sheffield United to Burnley, all the way up to the Fulhams and West Hams of this world. So make sure that you do that. Did you watch Spence v Crawford? No, I didn't, but I was stunned and shocked by the result. It lost me a little bit of money, actually, as well, because I had that to go over 10.5 rounds. And yeah, in the 9th round, that got stopped. And Crawford, I mean, that is crazy. It was absolutely crazy. West Ham did reject the offer for Scamacca. Yes, I think they should have as well. That's a crazy amount. I think, didn't they buy him for more than that already. So crazy, to be fair. I can't believe that that's happened. Guys, we're going to leave it there. Hopefully I've answered all of your questions now. Yeah, it looks like I have. They've all been starred. They've all been answered. Do me a favor. Make sure you like this video. Please like the content. It's really, really important to me. Make sure that you subscribe. It's absolutely free to do. So there's no subscription fee. All you got to do is click a button, and it does me a hella of a favor. Make sure that you stay tuned, because there's going to be daily content. Make sure that you're over at Lee Judges TV as well. I'll be on there tomorrow about 4 p.m. with a Q&A with myself and Lee. Then in the evening I'll be back on here, so I'll see you tomorrow as well. So stay tuned. Make sure you're subscribed to me and Lee. Make sure you're subscribed to both channels. Smash a like on your way out, people, and we will see you next time. Take it easy and up the Arsenal. Goodbye, people.